What was Lance Cade like?
Lan- Lance is a Lance is a bit of a scatterbrain, and I hope he watches this. Lance is funny. He's a really nice guy. He really is. He's got really good intentions. He's just kind of goofy, but we're all kind of goofy, There's nobody. I've never met anybody in wrestling who's just like a normal guy, And so everybody, they're not bitter at Lance, but like when Lance first walked in, uh, Shawn said something like, "I smell money," because and it's true. He's 6'5", he's 250 pounds, he can jump to the moon, he's really athletic, and all this kind of stuff. And so like me and Spanky, we're both down here, we're both really small. We didn't really have much going for us in the way of look starting out right away.
Right.
And so Lance, he's a good guy. He works hard. Now he's phenomenal. When we all got released from the WWF and he was still there, he was turning into one of the most entertaining guys that you'll watch. Like just with he was hilarious in the ring and his work was really really good. So
how did you guys end up working that tour for FMW?
That was a thing that Shawn put together. Shawn agreed to go over there and do a referee spot for him. I don't even know if he got paid for it. I think they just flew him over there and he did the thing, gave him some food money or whatever, and he came back. And the whole thing was he went over there just so me and Lance could go over there again. And it's not like we were good enough to go over there. We'd only been wrestling a month when we went over there. And so he put that together. We got to go over there for the pay-per-view show that Shawn refed. And we stayed for a week and trained in the FMW Dojo. And then we did a little 2-week tour with him where we had like 5 matches or something. But it was pretty much all Shawn's doing, to go over there like that.
What was the dojo like?
The dojo was, it was cool. It was my first real experience out of TWA. And so we did a lot of squats. We did a lot of push-ups and stuff. But then we worked out a little bit, like with weights at the dojo there. And then it was just learning how to. We just showed Masato Tanaka and another guy. We showed them our moves and said, and they kind of said, "This is what we like. This is what we don't like. Don't use this, use that. Whatever, that sort of stuff." They taught us some chain wrestling and stuff because really we were taught real basic chain wrestling stuff at Shawn's school. That's not enough for in Japan because they like the first 5 or 6 minutes is almost always chain wrestling. At least what we were doing,
right?
Opening match, and so it was almost all just wrestling.
How did you guys first find out WWE was interested in giving you guys a developmental deal?
We never really found out they were interested in giving us a developmental deal. We found out about the tryout, and then we found out that we got a developmental deal like 2 or 3 days later, which was, that was all Shawn's doing, the tryout match we were all really excited for. Like I was working at a cookie store in the mall, and I was, this sounds awful. I was working with only gay people. It seemed like, and I think that's why they hired me. Really, is I went in there and we'll give you an interview on the spot. Really, nobody had even wanted to hire me before that. Oh, okay, oh yeah, can you start soon? Yeah, sure. And, I worked there for a little while and then we were doing dishes at night or whatever, and they were talking about all these escapades that they were having. And I just couldn't hang with it, so I quit my job, and we had rent to pay and everything like that, and so we were all really hopeful for it just financially because we were all so poor, and so but we were also looking forward to it just as an experience.
Were you surprised?
Yeah, we were nervous after the match about whether we'd get deals or not, and then stupidly we were, we were only been wrestling for 3 months or whatever. So, but yeah, we were surprised.
You said that it was mainly because of Shawn, but
yeah.
I mean, do you think there was anything else to it?
With Lance, there could have been. With us, there were so many guys better than us then. It's really goofy now that you look back on it because we were so not ready for it. We'd only been wrestling 3 months. We hadn't put in any time, anything like that. we got in because of Shawn, and that match was probably our best match. But you watch it now, and it's awful. It's like that was the best match we could have possibly ever done at that time period. But it was still awful, and there were guys who probably deserved it a lot more than us. But because of how much everybody respects Shawn, I think that's why we got our deals.
What was your favorite match in TWA?
My last match with Spanky there. It was like a cage match. Loser leaves town. Texas death match. All these things that all piled on to another. And it was the match itself I haven't seen. I guess it was taped, but I just haven't seen it. But it was really emotional at the end because Shawn told us to cut to tell the fans goodbye and everything, and then me and Spanky, we got together and we called out Rudy, and we called out Shawn and everything, and just to say thank you to those guys because they were the reasons why we were moving on. It wasn't because we were really good, but it was so emotional, and Shawn was crying, and Rudy was crying, and Spanky was crying, and I was crying, and I was bleeding, and Spanky was bleeding, and that was the first time I'd ever had friends come and watch me wrestle too, because some of my friends from church came and watched me wrestle, and so and we were leaving the very next morning to go to Memphis, and so it was just a really emotional night, and that's kind of what makes this matches special more than anything else. It's just the emotions you connect with them. So,
what were your initial thoughts at MCW?
At first, I was really intimidated because it's the first time we'd ever really left TWA. The first time we'd ever been in an environment where we weren't protected by Shawn. And so we went in there, and there were a lot of guys, that we didn't know how well they were trained or whatever, and it turns out that they were trained, okay, they were, but these aren't the developmental guys. These are like the local guys
right.
that they were using. And it was kind of scary. Spanky had to wrestle a team called the Kingpins, and everybody was telling him how they kill people on stuff, And of course, we haven't even been wrestling a year, and Spanky's like, I don't want to do this, and I'm the same way. I didn't want him to do it either. I thought he was going to die, and it turned out to be fine. It was just one of those things where you're just nervous because you've never been anywhere else. So,
how would you compare Texas to Memphis?
That's tough. Texas, we didn't run as many shows. Memphis, we were running quite a few shows. The crowds were bigger in Texas. The crowds seemed more into it in Texas. But in Memphis, we got a lot more experience, just the experience of wrestling 3 or 4 times a week. So it's really hard to compare the two.
Was it tough working in front of the small crowds?
No. Like, as an indie wrestler, you're always working in front of small crowds. In Texas, we wrestled in front of, my second match was with Rudy, and we wrestled in front of 30 people. And so,
You're used to it.
Yeah, you just get used to it, You still have to work hard, and you want to work hard because you want to get better. And so it's not as hard as people say.
What did you think of the Southern style and the Southern fans?
I like the Southern style. But I wasn't interested in learning it at the time because I wanted to learn just a normal style first. It's not like I knew how to wrestle and then I wanted to add the Southern flavor into my repertoire or anything. I'd only been wrestling a year. I was I was still learning how to sell and everything like that. And so I liked the Southern style. It was just hard to apply it then.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.